Welcome to WideNet Gaming and to my top 5 best games for 2019. Again, disclaimer, like with my last video, this is out of only games I've reviewed. So it doesn't mean the game has to come out in 2019, but there's updates and it was reviewed then. So it's the state of them in 2019 either way. So with that out of the way, let's start with number 5, which is... I started with this one with Kingdom New Lands. That's the game that came out before this, and they had updates where they were going to just update that one like they had in the past, just adding more mounts or new islands, and eventually they went with a new game. And I think it's justified with the new units they add, the different way that you can combat the greed, and then with the multiplayer, which not as much a fan of because you can't hook up with randoms, but it is still there if you do play with someone else. But the DLC is mainly what sets this one at number 5 apart from all the other games. And it's a good way to add to an indie game while not charging anything more. And the game itself isn't that expensive. But the base game, I had a lot of fun playing this one because it's a different angle. A lot of people that like New Lands, like the skill, they wanted to bump that up, but I prefer having a different way to play, and then they have that with the Decay element in this one, and then the civilizations where you can combat the greed and attack them eventually. But the DLC builds further upon the challenge island they had in the last game. Like, you still have that one too with the hourglass, but then you have ones defensively where you just defend against the greed, and then offensively going from island to island. Even though Sally's not in Game Pass anymore, it still really is worth picking up. This is one of those games that it's what am I looking at, and it's easily dismissed with the graphical style, but there's kind of a long history and kind of indie game development surrounding the original arcade cabinet Killer Queen, which is a 5-on-5 with larger maps. What they decided to do with this is take one character down, and the rationale, the reason why isn't really good. So it doesn't compete with the base game, which is kind of stupid. It's a physical cabinet, and people that are playing online are never going to get to these cabinets unless they're in a handful of locations around the country. But anyway, how it turned out with this one is similar to the cabinet. I checked one of those out in one of my other videos, and still does play the same way, and you can do it currently on Switch or Steam. Steam, it runs a bit better, but I'll have to check out the Switch again because I didn't notice really any issues with that, though I've heard that has kind of changed. But this one's a blast. When you play it early on, it feels like the queen is just zipping around and it's just a matter of that. But it's that attention to what is going on, those 3 objectives, and then responding to them. So if you are into looking for something different multiplayer-wise, this is a great game. This one a bit more controversial, mainly because of the glitches in the game, choices that they made with extra survivor groups or quests that pop up turn some people off. The online portion, though, with playing with other players, you do have that rubber banding, but it is at least there. The other aspect, though, isn't a big deal, where other communities will call you up and there's consequences. The consequences don't affect your community. It's just you lose out on something. So you can still pick and do what you want. It's more psychological. You're constantly bombarded with these radio messages of help me do this and that. So it's that kind of anal retentive group that isn't going to like it. What sets this one on the list and a little bit higher up is the updates, though, in 2019 with the difficulty that they added, and then the new map and campaign. Now, you got to remember, with all of this, it's included in Game Pass, so you don't have to pay anything extra. If you had to pay for either of those 2 things, or one of them, I'd change my mind, but those are the best aspects of the game. The part that isn't is Breakdown. This is a horde-style defensive mode, and this emphasizes the worst aspects, like with the online multiplayer, where it does matter more in this mode because you can die quite quickly, whereas in the main game it's the resource gathering. It's not just constant combat all of the time. If you're looking for a real-time survival zombie apocalypse base building type of a game, though, I think this one is still the best out there. Less so of a surprise with this one. It's well made, very well done gameplay design, like with Mario Odyssey, Zelda, Breath of the Wild, same type of a thing. And it follows that structure where you naturally want to explore each of the floors. It's just with how they design it, it's not boring with symmetrical rooms. And what they pack in with this one is, you know, quite impressive. It's, you have, I always say Breath of the Wild has the most open environments, so it's structured that way. Mario Odyssey is this in-between one. And then Luigi's Mansion, they try to pack in as much as possible in a small room. So there's all these things to search for and find, and it's interesting because of the themes for each of the levels and all the mechanics surrounding the tools at your disposal. You have things like finding invisible coins, ghosts, objects, and going around. There's so many approaches. It seems, well, I'll find everything right away, but you have to be paying attention or do certain actions. So that part is impressive. And as a bonus, the multiplayer, though this was short, a bit too much, it still is fun and worth playing. And then they did what I always love, local with online, which there isn't enough of in games. But as a package deal, the majority of this is going to be on the single player, and even at 50, 60 bucks, like the price will come down to. This is an easy recommend, and then if you're looking to just play through it quick, then check it out on GameFly. And my number one for 2019, Friday the 13th, the game. This, along with State of Decay 2, is more controversial, largely because of the glitches, the limitation to being online game mode, which is a weird one, and then the development process a little bit, where they haven't been able to add more, which isn't their fault because of the lawsuit over the franchise name. Very misunderstood, though, as a game, what it is, and its game design is what sets it apart from most of the other games on this list, because it is a unique idea, and then on top of that, it has online multiplayer. There's plenty of single-player games, and they could have gone that route with this one, but they chose to do it online, and it actually works. Not only with how it is designed and how the matches play out, but the online community. There's a great community that plays this game, and it's across all types of skill levels, but mostly beginner to intermediate, rather than you're not going to have too many experts playing it. So it's kind of a shelf life time of a game, because after you complete all of the objectives, that's kind of the fun, or had most of the experiences, then people move on. But what this means is that even if you're jumping in, playing with other people, you're not going to be playing against a ton of pros, because only one person is Jason, and in all likelihood, it's not going to be this pro character. So you can take your time, learn the game, and then you'll have all variety of experiences. And it's in the reverse. If you play as Jason, since everyone isn't playing, you'll get exposure. Some people you'll have a harder time fighting against. It's kind of a humor type of a game, accidentally and deliberately. And there's also a great single-player portion to learn how to play as Jason too. If you liked this video, please give a like, subscribe if you really liked it. Check out the links below on GameFly or Xbox Game Pass for State of Decay 2. And I will see you next time.